Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of the Hardware Podcast. My name is Jackson Danner alongside my good friend, as always, Omar Borja. Today we have a couple of special guests that might be a familiar face, or some familiar faces. I've got Coach Bryant Grove and Coach Chris Williams of the HBCU Pigskin Showdown, which we partnered with last draft season, interviewing some HBCU NFL draft prospects. Anyways, Coach Grove and Coach Williams have been generous enough to come on and share some big news with us and to all you listeners. So Omar, Coach Grove, Coach Williams, how's it going?
All right, bro. How you doing?
Good to see you guys, both of you. Doing great.
Getting the band out together, so to speak. So absolutely. Well, Omar, or whoever wants to, I'll let someone share the big news of exactly what's going on. In case you don't already know, the HBCU Pigskin Showdown is a fairly new all-star game, obviously made up of players from the HBCUs. It takes place at the Marion Military Institute down in Marion, Alabama, and they invite players out to showcase their talents in front of some NFL scouts. I believe half the league was represented last year, and with this, I'm sure that number will only go up.
Yeah, I like to think so. I mean, I think I think we did pretty good. Coach Grove always talks about how we got half of the NFL to come to a really small, what we would think would be rural town, right? And they felt like because of that, because they were able to come out, it showed that they're really interested in these players and even in a lot of ways interested in the reasons why we do the game, where we do it. And so we're really excited, man, about NBC sports, and we think it takes us to puts us on the mainstream when it comes to bowl games. And I guess at this point now, we just got to get both of you guys in the building this time.
No.
Absolutely, and I know I'd love nothing more. And Omar, I'm sure you could say the same. I think we were trying to make it down there anyway for this one. So, hey, as Coach Prime said, if they're not coming, at least we are, right?
Right.
So even if they don't send the time of day to send a few scouts down to Selma, just outside Selma, then we will come out, right? So
That's right.
Yeah, Coach. Very excited for the news and everything. I'm more interested in it's not like political, maybe like the business aspect of things. So in the process, like how was contract talks with NBC? Were there any other networks that you guys talked to? Because I know you look at bowl season, ESPN owns bowl season. I mean, they televise all but two of the bowls. And so this is huge for NBC too, to get some postseason college football onto their screen. So how did the contract talks go?
Contract talks were just long, man. I mean, Coach and I were just getting so impatient. I mean, they from the minute that we I can't remember how that started, but from the minute we had our first conversation, they were interested and said they were ready to go, almost right away. But then when you start getting to the nuts and bolts of the contract and the cost of production and different things like that, we met those guys at the last week of April, and we didn't actually get it released until August the 9th. So there was almost 3 months of back and forth talks and making sure that things were right with the school and all kinds of things. But they were just so gracious to us, man. And I gotta give credit to Gary Quinn. I mean, who's the VP of programming there at NBC Sports. I mean, he's got a big vision for helping HBCU kids, and he's on the cause of HBCUs, and he's added us to a series of games that he's having this year. So he's just this wonderful dude to work with, man, and it was always, has always and still is positive, and just wants it to be a really good event so we can do this together for years to come.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the partnership that NBC's had with HBCUs. Last year they broadcast Howard Hampton. You have the Bayou Classic for so many years. And as God intended this year, the game's back on big NBC and not the sports network, maybe there'll be no more pandemics because of this movement to big NBC. But it's just great for the game. I guess great exposure for the game. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but another question I have as well is sort of with a TV slot, it's kind of a hard spot to be in, with the Celebration Bowl at the same time. Is that where you guys wanted to be? I know your game is very community oriented to the South Central Alabama community for the Selma and Marion community. So I guess is that like the time that you guys targeted, that 1 o'clock? Is it, I guess, Eastern time?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer this one and I'll let Coach answer the next one. But, it was kind of a catch-22 situation, man. I mean, there at Marion Military Institute, I mean, we're still talking about a small town in Alabama, Alabama's Black Belt. So the lighting system, at the school isn't quite where it needs to be in order to have a night game on NBC. And so we just decided that let's not miss this opportunity with NBC because of that. So we wanted to stagger it as much as we could, and we could only stagger it an hour back of the Celebration Bowl just to make sure we don't run into any darkness when it comes to the game. And then next year, once we get to rolling and and sponsors start to pick it up and all that sort of stuff, then we'll do it. We'll do a night game so that we don't conflict with the Celebration Bowl. So it's just a 1 year thing that we had to put up with, and I just think that it's still going to work out for everybody. I don't think we don't cause any sufferers to the Celebration Bowl, and I think that people that want to watch their guys play in the game that aren't in the Celebration Bowl, I think those people will be there. So I think there's a viewership for both games this year, and once we get past this year, then we'll take it back to where we back it up, and we want to stay in December. So a lot of people have asked us why not change the date, but you don't want to be on Christmas weekend. You don't want to get, post New Year where you're competing with Senior Bowls and Blue Gray games. And the biggest thing to that is you want those players to have the opportunity to get seen and possibly get invited to some of those other games, right? Even the Legacy Bowl in February. So from our conversations with scouts, and they say we're probably at a perfect time, in the bowl cycle. If we're going to be bringing a new bowl game to this cycle, we're in a perfect time for that, and kids get to get seen. But to answer your question, it was kind of unavoidable on the time frame, but it will just be for this year.
Yeah, one more thing before I pass it to Jackson, but I mean, who needs lights? Wrigley Field didn't have lights till 1988. But now, all jokes aside, I mean that's a great point about Celebration Bowl. They'll have their people, because I mean, essentially, while it is the Black College Football National Title game, I mean, you have situations too, like last year's game, where it's like Morgan State, probably the last thing you want to see is a South Carolina State play on TV. So go ahead and watch the HBCU Pigskin Showdown with our friend Neil Boudreau playing at quarterback, like Hampton, the team that was in the Big South. And
Right.
Not in the Celebration Bowl race. So I mean that's a great point as well. And yeah, I guess the stadium at the Marion Military Institute, it's unique. I got kind of a Field of Dreams vibe from it, just being in the woods.
Absolutely.
So I'll pass it to Jackson now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, thanks, Omar. Something that I know that we love about you guys, and I think is a huge plus to your game, is that, you're really big on not charging a fee to participate in it, right? And there have been some organizations, such as the Houston Texans, that have, been generous enough to either donate supplies or, help with the operating costs of just running the actual game. Is that something that NBC might be able to help in order to increase the caliber product that they're putting on their network, or is there any pluses that comes along with the publicity, I guess?
You want to take that one, Coach?
Yeah, I take it. I think, if I hear what you're saying, I think the leverage of NBC gives us an opportunity, and then the people that did do something, there's two other entities, so Texans and Green Bay did something, and the more we're around, the more I see us, I think more will be done. I don't think necessarily from an NBC standpoint, but because we have that vehicle, that it's natural that people would want statements and let people know that they're participating in events. You know what I mean? Because the Texans, they posted it on their website. Green Bay did the same thing. So those people were gracious. I'm quite sure if other people had known, you know, they would do some things. But just because we have NBC and we're on that platform, it's going to open some doors. I mean, no different than, you know, sponsorship and giving these guys a stage, a bigger stage to be on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not necessarily NBC itself, but the publicity that NBC gives you and just the awareness of your game, they'll definitely help you on that aspect. That's awesome. That's the goal, right? To anything make the game better for these guys. I don't know if there was anyone from last year, and if so, you don't need to name any names. Were there any guys that maybe already had combine invites or invites to other all-star games that if they declined, do you think that won't be an issue now that you guys are getting broadcasted and even more exposure than last year?
Yeah, I think that guys will realize. I mean, first of all, when you get on national TV, it opens up a different level of player that you're going to get. You know, I think also, you know, just through the process of what happened last year, I think most of these HBCU players realize that, you know, the top guys in HBCU, you know, that have a draft grade, those guys are probably going to get pulled out and end up playing in the Senior Bowl and the Blue Gray and the NFL PA game. And so what happens to the rest of that crew in HBCU, everybody else has pretty much got the same, you know, type of a draft status. And I think last year, you know, some guys may have been holding out to play in a different game. And I think now that after what happened, you know, even some of the top, what we would have thought would have been some of the top prospects didn't get opportunities to get in. I think now these guys will realize that I probably need to play in as many bowl games as I possibly can play in, just to get the opportunity to interview more with scouts, to have scouts watch me up close in practice even more. And so I don't think, well, I think you'll see, and even last year, I mean, I think 30 of our kids were playing in the Legacy Bowl, and even Jeremiah Kane was, who was our defensive MVP, was also the defensive MVP at the Legacy Bowl. So I think going through that first year and you know, I think guys from that point will see that, you know, we probably should get as many reps as we can. So I don't see any issue with that. I think you'll probably see a lot of the same guys in both those two games.
Absolutely. Hey, they didn't know it then, but playing in your game would help their draft stock even more. Hopefully now they see that as that number. I mean, I know we talked about it after the draft in our group chat where, I mean, there were plenty of guys that maybe were taken from D2 or the FCS that, you know, weren't as good as weren't the caliber player that you guys had in summer. So yeah, that would be awesome if they could finally, hey, maybe the NBC thing helps a little bit and they know that exposure will help them even more, even though it's not the people watching on NBC, it is the scouts that will make the trip down there. That'll help eventually.
Yeah. Jackson, on top of that, what I was just going to add to what Coach was saying, Jackson, I don't mean to cut you off, but on top of that, you know, I think this goes back to the NBC issue. So the NBC platform opens that door for where, you know, people wake up. They say, hey, you guys, if NBC is interested in NBC's broadcast, and then, you know, you guys have some relevancy at that point, right? You're talking about kids, coaches, and being the new people on the block, you need that kind of weight, right? So they're going to be always going to be kids. It's no different than recruiting for, you know, from high school to college. There's always going to be kids that's going to make whatever decision they make based on their camp and what the camp is talking about. When you talk about as a whole, like Coach was saying, they need the kids that have a draft score are going to go. They're going to go to the big games anyway. They're going to get pulled out, and then the rest of these kids, we just need to get the message to them, and that'll happen over time. But the fact that we got NBC this time, you know, we have a bigger percentage of some kids probably we didn't get, but we're not in competition with the combine that's running in Mobile or Doug's game or anybody's personality. All we want to do is create a bridge. So now, like we talked about last year, we set a bridge, you know, Senior Bowl set a bridge with the combine, Doug Williams setting a bridge over here so those kids get to be seen like Coach. And back to the 16 scouts on a first run, me and Coach don't come with rock star names, right? So for us to be able to position our backgrounds and position that in a place that's so historic and be able to get these kids here, and during a time when the NFL is in their meetings, right? So we got 16 teams this time, and maybe if we don't have NBC, we don't pull another team coming in this year, but the goal would be, okay, let's go up 4 times for this time, knowing that the NFL is in their meetings. So at least we get 4 more scouts, even if they're bottom line scouts coming to that game. But that kind of goes back to the weight of NBC and how big that is, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It definitely provides some validity and some just that extra layer of, you guys know it's the real deal, right?
Yeah.
You guys are getting on there. Absolutely. There is another All-Star game a couple hundred miles south with a pretty big candy sponsor. Any candy I may need to be buying out come mid-December.
Which one are you talking about?
The Reese's Senior.
Oh.
And maybe the Snickers HBCU Pigskin, something like that. Yeah.
You know what? Not yet. I mean, the great thing about this, man, and just talking a little bit about the business piece. I mean, NBC is right there with us when it comes to finding sponsors and finding a title sponsor and finding. So we'll probably be surprised at who that title sponsor ends up being, just because they're part of that search. And I mean, they help with everything, man. You're talking about our budgets go up. I mean, we can do more for players now. I mean, we can make the event, even as close to what the Senior Bowl or the Legacy Bowl would look like because of this involvement. So I would just say stay tuned on the title sponsor, because it's probably going to be a good one.
I don't even like Reese's, and I spend an obscene amount right before the Senior Bowl just so I can eat it during the whole thing. So, hey, you can tell NBC that hey, sales will definitely go up right before. So
Absolutely.
Omar, that's all I've got. Coach Grove, Coach Williams, you've been so generous with your time. I really appreciate
I got a couple more. Sorry, I got a couple more.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Just I know Jackson and I, we talk about this sometimes with Thursday Night Football. Jackson's a big Thursday Night Football guy. Al Michaels no longer doing NBC Sunday Night Football. Have you guys been in talks with good old Al to do play-by-play for the game? Any talks with Al Michaels?
No, we hadn't talked to Al Michaels, but according to Gary Quinn, I mean, he said he told us he's going to give us his A team of broadcasters. Said he's not going to slight us any when it comes to the production of the game. So whoever that, I don't even know who that A team is, but whoever that A team that he considers his A team of HBCU guys, I mean, they'll be broadcasting the game. So we're going to look a lot like, what's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I believe it's Mike Tirico and Tony Dungy right now.
Okay. I'm not sure. Sure, but
I'm not sure. I don't quote me on that, but that's my
Yeah.
guess.
I'm not sure, but he did say he'll make sure we get the A team, and he wants this thing to be as big a production as it possibly can be. So we're excited to just see ourselves after the game's over. We're gonna be first ones to the hotel room to go back and look at the playback of it, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna come again. And then the way they're gonna mix in the history of Selma and Marion and who they'll be talking to during timeouts and who they'll interview in the booth. I mean, I think it's going to be, the history of this thing and why we're in Selma is going to come out of this too. So we're just super excited, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, too, one more thing, and I mean, I would hate to ask this question after such a serious note, but Jackson knows I'm a huge Pentatonics fan. When Thursday Night Football was on NBC, they had the very hyped Pentatonics intro. Is that something you'd consider, having Pentatonics open up the HBCU Pigskin Showdown with a nice cover of maybe a Saturday by Elton John, or?
I'll let Coach answer that one.
I don't know. I guess we'd have to go by the votes or the demographics on that one. I don't know. I don't know if Elton John gets the vote on that one.
I'm just saying that Thursday night Pentatonics intro was hype, and I mean, there's been many times on my Instagram story where I've begged for it to come back, especially like at least bring it back for the USFL games. Those Saturday night USFL games or the Friday night games. Ooh, electric. But that's all I got. I think it's funny, Coach Williams, that you gave that question to Coach Grove that you wanted nothing to do with that. So I'll kick it back to Jackson for the closeout.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you guys coming on, and I know we can't wait to watch the game, hopefully live and in person. Come mid-December, and man, this thing's only gonna get bigger. Man, it's August. The season hasn't even kicked off, and like this is already a huge production, right? This is postseason football, so it tells you how big of a deal it is. It tells you how much bigger it's gonna be, and I know we couldn't be more excited for you guys. So
yeah, we appreciate it, man.
We're excited to know you guys. Excited that y'all are part of the team, and like I said, man, whatever we got to do to get you guys there. We want you guys there hanging around with us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
We sure do appreciate it. And this partnership has enriched us for sure. And we're excited to continue working. I know in our episodes that we pre-recorded since Uncle Sam, I'm paying my dues to Uncle Sam pretty soon. But we've already recorded our HBCU Pigskin Showdown players to watch, and that'll be an integral part of our podcast throughout the season. Getting the name out, and hopefully helping you guys in the scouting department. With even if it's just one or two guys that you're like, oh, this is it's like Jackson mentioned this guy from whatever HBCU. Let's put him on the roster. So whatever it is. But thank you again for your time. It's always been fun. But if no one else has anything, all right. Till next time, everyone. Peace, love, and soul.
All right.
All right.